He was 10 years younger than me. Everyone said it wouldn't last. My friends warned me I was setting myself up for heartbreak. My mother said he'd leave me for someone his own age. But 3 years later, here we are. The truth about dating a younger man. It's nothing like what you've been told. If you've ever been curious about age gap relationships, specifically dating someone younger, this is the raw, unfiltered truth you need to hear. I'm sharing everything. The struggles, the judgment, the incredible benefits nobody talks about, and yes, even the surprising ways it's changed me. Stay with me until the end for the one piece of advice that completely transformed my relationship. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss my weekly relationship insights that go against everything society has programmed you to believe. The first time I told my best friend about him, there was this moment of silence on the phone. Then came the questions. Not about how we met or what he was like, but about his age. "Are you sure about this?" she asked, concern dripping from her voice like she was talking about a terminal diagnosis instead of a relationship. That's when I realized this wouldn't just be about navigating a connection with someone in a different life stage. It would be about constantly defending our choice to be together. Society has created such rigid expectations around who we should love and when. We're supposed to follow this prescribed timeline, date in our 20s, settle down with someone our own age by 30, and heaven forbid if you deviate from that path, especially as a woman. Let me take you back to how it started. I wasn't looking for someone younger. In fact, I'd always dated men my age or older, believe in the cultural narrative that maturity came with years. We met at a friend's art exhibition. He was photographing the event, and I was there supporting the artist. When he approached me to discuss one of the pieces, there was an immediate intellectual connection. We talked for hours about everything from abstract expressionism to climate change. Not once did age come up. It wasn't until our third date that I learned he was a decade younger than me, and by then the connection was already established. I remember going home that night and actually Googling dating younger men. That's how programmed I was to believe there was something wrong with our age difference. The judgment came from everywhere. Family gatherings became an exercise in fielding subtle digs about when he'd grow up or whether I was playing mommy. Friends would make jokes about me being a cougar, a term I've come to absolutely despise for its sexist implications. Even strangers felt entitled to comment. A waiter once handed him the check, assuming he wouldn't want his mother to pay. These moments hurt, not just because they mischaracterized our relationship, but because they reduced two complex individuals to nothing more than their birth years. But here's what nobody tells you about dating someone younger. The perspective it brings is invaluable. My partner hasn't had decades to become jaded by disappointment or failure. His approach to obstacles is refreshingly optimistic, not because he's naive, but because he hasn't been conditioned to expect the worst. When I faced a major career setback last year, my instinct was to retreat into practical safety. His was to see it as an opportunity to pivot towards something I'd always been passionate about. He was right. That setback led me to the career path I'm on now, which brings me more fulfillment than I ever thought possible. Another truth. The generational differences create opportunities for growth on both sides. He's introduced me to perspectives, music, and cultural references I might have otherwise missed. I found myself less rigid in my thinking, more open to reconsidering positions I'd held for years. And contrary to the stereotype that younger partners lack emotional depth, he's taught me so much about emotional intelligence and communication. Growing up in an era where therapy is normalized and emotional literacy is valued has given him tools some men my age are still struggling to develop. Of course, there are challenges. We're in different life stages with different priorities. While his friends are building their careers and enjoying the freedom of their 20s, many of mine are raising children or moving into more senior professional roles. We've had to work to build a social circle that accommodates both of us, finding friends who see us as individuals rather than an age gap curiosity. And yes, we've had the difficult conversations about the future, about children, whether to have them and when, about our careers, which might take us to different places, about health, the reality that I'll face certain age-related challenges before him. Financial disparities have been another hurdle. I'm established in my career and financially stable. He's still building his foundation. We've had to navigate everything from who pays for dinner to bigger questions about moving in together and combining resources. These conversations aren't unique to age gap relationships, but they do take on a different dimension when society has specific expectations about who should be the provider. The intimacy question is one everyone seems fascinated by, so let's address it. The myth that men peak sexually in their 20s while women peak in their 30s has some truth to it, but not in the way you might think. What makes our physical connection work isn't biological timing, but communication and a willingness to prioritize each other's pleasure without ego. Age has very little to do with being a considerate, attentive partner. The real advantage is that we've both shed the insecurities of our early 20s and the performances that often accompany them. There's an honesty to our intimacy that I haven't experienced in same-age relationships. Family integration has been both heartwarming and challenging. My parents were skeptical at first, concerned he wouldn't be able to provide stability. His parents worried I might pressure him into settling down before he was ready. What changed everything was simply spending time together. My mother now adores him. They have a shared passion for gardening that's given them their own relationship independent of me. His father and I bonded over our mutual love of jazz. The key was giving everyone time to see us as a couple, defined by our compatibility, not our birth certificates. I won't pretend there haven't been moments of insecurity. Society places such immense value on youth, especially for women, that I've occasionally found myself wondering if he'll eventually want someone younger. He's had his own fears, that I might find his career struggles frustrating, or that I'll resent him if having children becomes challenging due to my age. We've learned that these insecurities say more about social conditioning than they do about our actual relationship. The antidote has been radical honesty, naming these fears when they arise instead of letting them fester. As for the future, we're planning one, just like any other couple. But we're doing it with an awareness that our needs may evolve differently because of our age difference. We check in regularly about our goals and expectations. We make space for growth and change. And most importantly, we don't let the timeline society expects from us dictate our choices. The most powerful lesson I've learned from loving someone younger isn't about age at all. It's about intentionality. When you're in a relationship that others question, you can't fall back on societal scripts. You have to actively choose each other repeatedly, knowing that your commitment might face additional scrutiny. Every milestone requires conversation and consideration. This intentionality has created a foundation of trust and mutual respect that I believe makes our relationship stronger than many age-appropriate ones. And here's the one piece of advice I promised, the insight that transformed how I view our relationship. Stop making age the protagonist of your love story. The number of years between you matters far less than your values, your communication styles, your goals, and your willingness to grow together. When we stopped apologizing for our age difference and started celebrating the unique dynamics it brings to our relationship, everything shifted. The external judgment lost its power. Our connection deepened, and we found freedom in defining our relationship on our own terms. Whether you're currently in an age gap relationship, considering one, or just curious about the dynamics, remember that love doesn't follow a prescribed timeline. The right person might come at the wrong age, and that contradiction could be the beginning of your greatest love story. Trust yourself to know what works for you, and be brave enough to pursue connection wherever you find it. Thank you for staying with me through this story. If you found value in these insights, please hit that subscribe button for more authentic conversations about relationships that break the mold. In the comments, I'd love to hear your experiences with age differences in relationships. What challenges have you faced? What unexpected joys have you discovered? Let's continue this conversation below. Until next time, remember that the most beautiful love stories are often the ones that don't follow the rules.